giving of your life to a purpose greater and bigger than yourself that makes a difference, makes a contribution for others, is in service of your own life and the people you care about, and also others. That act in itself, there's generosity in that. By you being of a generous, giving spirit and heart, and of a bigger purpose, mission, you're speaking, things are given. Things you don't deserve are given. Grace suddenly is in favor for you. When I was in my early 20s living in Los Angeles, I lived in a 400 square foot apartment in the Mid-Wilshire district near the La Brea Tar Pit. I was figuring out life. I was working in different restaurants and, as a busboy or a waiter. And then I was also teaching yoga on the side. I started teaching my power yoga classes in Hollywood and Beverly Hills. And I had this little 400 square foot apartment. I think the rent was like $400 a month. I could make my rent, but I'd buy a 5 or 10 pound sack of potatoes. I would buy a big old jar of butter. I would buy some vegetables, and I would live off that. It was like bare, very bare essentials. As a yoga teacher there in LA, I was teaching class to, these Hollywood celebrities and people in the Hollywood film and movie industry. And then I would do privates at people's homes. And some people you could really see were very grateful for what they'd been able to create in their lives and accumulate, material wealth or success. And you could tell that there was humility. And then there was a different type that had an arrogance about it and very entitled expectation of being served. And it was almost like a better than. It was very present for me. By contrast, every Friday I would go down to downtown LA in the South Central. There was like a juvenile retention center. So it was youth that were in jail waiting for their trials. And I would go each week and I would circle all these kids up that wanted to be a part of a program. And we would circle up and I would talk about life topics. I would talk about anger or having resentment, forgiveness, having purpose in life. I'd circle them up, and then we would do a little meditation, and then we would do like 15 minutes of yoga practice. And I could see that these kids, some of them had big attitudes and different things, and then they're the ones that were actually more humbled, that knew their lives were very off track. Underneath, there was a yearning there. These kids, they were inner city, mostly Black, Mexican, minorities mostly. But you could tell underneath that troubled spirit they had, there was a yearning. There was something that they didn't have any material. These kids came from poverty, basically. And then the mentality that goes along with that often. I would do that on the same day. I would drive up to Bel Air or Beverly Hills and do privates with people, these really wealthy people that did not have that same yearning spirit to understand life, like to have a connection with God, that something greater than themselves, like a creator even existed, or they wanted to do the yoga practice so that they could relax, they could feel better, they could get some relief, they could get some peace, they could get some me time. To me, the money piece and the material piece, you can see in people that from both sides, money and material things do not determine someone's happiness. It can't, or someone's sense of fulfillment or purpose in life. You can have nothing and have great things in life. You can have joy, you can have happiness, you can have peace, you can have freedom. If you have a boss or you work for someone, okay, you work for that person. You are working to feed your family if you have a family, or just to take care of yourself and your everyday needs. So there are real concerns, fundamental, survival concerns, food, places to live, being able to travel to work and back or what have you. But when we become so attached to needing things, then things have us. We don't have them. We become a slave to them. That has a spiritual impact. You'll never really be free until you have nothing. So can you have the freedom through being not attached to anything? You don't really know freedom until you have nothing, but is it possible to come to nothing, to zero within yourself so you can have a home, you can have things and nice things and appreciate experiences. And it's this thing that human beings get attached. Like 3 roots of suffering. One of the 3 roots of all suffering is attachment. And it's the attachment to things. But there's something about things possessing us through some kind of attachment, whether our attachment is to some identity of how people see us. We have this house, we have the white picket fence, or we have the kind of car, but nobody cares what you drive. People aren't looking around at what you drive. Actually, you're attempting to impress people that you don't know and they don't care. You're not your car, you're not your things actually, but it's the attachment, and whether it's identity you get from it, or just we get stuck. Human beings get stuck in this survival mode where they don't stop, pause, get present, and see, well, am I putting so much importance on living in a certain kind of house or a place that I don't even recognize that it's bringing up an immense amount of fear and anxiety and overwhelm. And then that energy is the fuel to have to keep hustling and keep grinding and stay on the treadmill and stay on the hamster wheel to survive and to make it. But you're making it, going somewhere, and you actually don't even know where you're going. Most people are rushing around, busy, and they have no idea where they're actually going. They don't know. Not really. They could tell you, oh, I'm getting there. I got to get my kids. But people are running in circles and they don't know it. But when you just stop and you get present to what is most important, actually, and if you could come to zero within yourself and see that whatever you own that you're attempting to keep up with, it doesn't have to own you. Because when it does, the fear and the resentment and the bitterness that can emerge out of that attachment, but it's also at the end of life, it all goes back. Whatever you have now is borrowed, and it's on borrowed time. You don't own it. Not really. It's an illusion that we own it. It goes back somewhere to someone, to some other owner. The house you're in, yeah, someone else is going to live in it. Or they'll live on that land and build their own new house on it, but it won't be yours.